You have a loyal fan base. What did you think of the reactions by fans to the cancellation of the series by Sci-Fi?
Well, I was astounded. When the news came through that we had been canceled, everyone behind the scenes, everyone in the writing room was. We were sure it was over. We were hugging each other and saying goodbye and making plans to work together and keep in touch and all of those things that you say at the end of a project. And the outpouring from the fans was touching and astounding and lovely. But when it turned out to be effective too, that was not at all what we had in mind. That was not in the cards. It was delightful.
What has changed after the pickup by Amazon Prime?
Well, on the writing and production side, not much. We're still produced by a studio called Alcon. So the writing room and the pre-production process stayed pretty much the same. The shooting process stayed the same. What's going to be different and what has started to be different is the way Amazon markets a show. The way, obviously, the distribution with direct to streaming has changed, and we still haven't seen all of those changes yet because we haven't aired yet. But on the marketing side, it's been very interesting to see the different philosophy that Amazon has about how to market a show to its audience than basic cable has.
I have seen the first 2 episodes of the 4th season yesterday, and yeah, it looks great.
Good.
And I think Amazon Prime has more money. Does it show just like for the CGI, for example, or more actors, background actors?
It's hard to kind of separate out the difference between there being more money and the fact that we've just gotten better. We have a lot of the same team. And we've had a lot of practice, and I think there's also a learning curve when you make this stuff. And I think there's also something to be said for the idea that we're just getting a little better at making it.
Yeah, the show hasn't changed budget-wise significantly. That's a common misunderstanding that Amazon is throwing tons of money at us. That's actually not true. I mean, we still have enough money to make the show, but it hasn't gone up a lot.
Okay. Because my first impression was, it looks kind of different. The CGI looks a little bit different, more sophisticated maybe.
Yeah, no, we got better.
I wonder what would have happened if you didn't get the same cast. Would it have been stopped?
No, I mean, you can't
change the main actor.
You can't change them. We had a little bit of a shift in some of the smaller parts, but no, the core cast were very loyal to the show and stuck on in order to keep playing with us, and that makes a lot of this possible.
What is your involvement with the series now? Do you have more influence maybe? And I've seen the duration is probably the same just for a TV show. Why didn't that change to an hour maybe?
Yeah, Amazon has a range of times that they want, but it isn't dramatically longer than regular television. I'm not sure why that is, but the other thing is that because our budget didn't go up, if you add minutes to an episode, you are also adding shooting days to that episode, and we don't have the money for a lot more shooting days. So the episodes are going to stay about the same length, although we have more freedom because they don't have to be exactly 42 and a half minutes like they do on cable. So they could be 40 minutes or they could be 50 minutes. They can be anywhere in between. So editorially, we have more freedom, but shooting days-wise, we do not have more freedom.
And there's I think you were saying that there was one we have that's like 48 minutes long.
Yeah, just shy of 50.
Yeah, so there is some variability and flex now that there wasn't before.
Could you veto script decisions now?
Well, we can certainly lobby pretty hard with the showrunner, and we write a lot of the scripts. So it's not a veto sort of room, really. It's an ongoing negotiation sort of room. It's the style of the project.
Yeah, we've been in the writers' room since day one, and we have a showrunner, Narain Shankar. He's been doing this a very long time. He's very good, and he runs a very collaborative writers' room. So everybody comes in with their best ideas. The approach in the room is always the best idea wins, and it's always been like that since the very beginning. And we tend not to worry too much about position and title. Narain is the showrunner, but if somebody who is much lower on the staff than him has a better idea than his, that's the idea we do.
Yeah, so if as far as vetoing, going in and saying, no, because I have great status, veto this and say that you cannot, no, we've never been able to do that. No one should be able to do that. That's a bad idea.
The show is based on the books, and I know some fans based means plot lines were erased for the show. It's impossible, or maybe characters were meshed up together. What was the backlash from fans?
There was not a lot. I mean, we've changed a lot of the details, but what we've tried to do is stay true to the spirit of the project. The example I always pull from is Batman. There's all kinds of retellings of the Batman story, and they're all Batman. The show is a retelling of the same story as the books. They're both the Expanse.
Yeah, and you're always going to have fans who insist that the books are better. You're going to have newer fans who insist that the show is better. But most people like both. And the nice thing is that both exist, so whichever one you think is better, that's the one you can read or watch.
What will be covered by the 4th and 5th season?
Well, broadly speaking, the 4th and 5th books. But it's not perfect. It's not rigorous. There will be some things that are different. There will be some things that are out of sequence. There will be some things that are pulled forward, kind of the way that it has been up till now. It'll be very much like what we did before.
You also written novellas, and how about a chance to have a feature film from the Expanse universe?
Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit if we start talking about that. The novellas are certainly the right length. Novellas are a good length for feature films, but what we've done instead is fold the stories from the novellas into the show. And we're going to continue to do that. So there's no plans for any feature-length work. We plan to continue using all of the Expanse material for the show.
I read there will be 9 books in the series. And what do you see as a future for the TV show? Will there be 9 seasons?
If they would like to make 9 seasons, we would be happy to make 9 seasons. That's a complex question, and I don't get to determine what the answer is. But we've got enough content to keep going for as long as they'd like to keep playing.
And how about the decades passing between, I think, book 6 and 7, 30 years probably. How about showing that on TV? You can't use the same actors. It looks kind of silly just to make them older.
I don't know the answer to that one. I apologized to Narain, our showrunner, when we did it. He says he has an idea. I don't know what it is.
Because based can also mean we stay in the same timeline, no time jumps forward.
Story doesn't make any sense if you don't have the time jump.
So yeah, something's going to happen. If you read book 6, if you look at book 6, if you open the dedication page on book 6, it says, to Narain Shankar, we don't make it easy. We don't make it easy. We've never written the books with the intention that they be filmed. We've never written them in order to be easy to film. And a large part of what we've been doing these last few years is trying to figure out how to recreate for the screen what we did on the page. And yeah, that's going to be an ongoing process. We're going to have some other puzzles to solve.
Since you talked about not written for a TV series, what were your reactions when you approached about a TV series based on your books?
The thing is, when you're a novelist, a lot of that happens where you don't see it. We had gotten some phone calls and emails asking about the possibility of optioning the books for TV or movies. We always just forwarded those on to our Hollywood agent. He was doing stuff we never saw, and then he came back eventually and said, here are some real offers, you can decide. We picked one. And then sometime later, people came back with pilot scripts and studio offers and all of that stuff. As the novelist, we were barely involved in that piece of it. So it was fun every time a new thing showed up, but we didn't have a lot of involvement. It wasn't until the show actually began pre-production and the writing process, the development process, that we actually got heavily involved. So
Yeah, and I mean, it's fun to buy a lottery ticket. It's more fun to win.
When did you limit the book series to 9 books? Was it at the beginning or just during the writing of the 4th or 5th book? You said we have to stop at number 9.
it was between books 2 and 3. We plotted out the whole series as we were plotting the 3rd book.
And there was a 12-book version of the outline. We looked, so we had it so that it was 12 books long, and then we looked at it, we realized 3 of them were kind of bad. We didn't want to do those, so we didn't. We just wrote the good ones.
How about the timeline? Did you also have in mind it would span decades of storyline?
Yeah, no, that's where the 3 books were. The boring ones where nothing much happened. That's those 3 books that we didn't write.
No, it was always the intention to for the series to cover a lot of physical space and a lot of time. It was always the intention that it was a big story. It was a long story, and that was always what we wanted.
What can you tell us about book 9?
It will definitively end the story we started in book 1, and we're working on it now, and I think it's going to be awesome.
Book 8 will be translated into German and comes out in January. What can you tell us about Book 8?
Book 8's kind of a weird one. It is absolutely the follow-up. It launches from where we ended in Book 7. It has a very different structure than any of the other previous books. And it is, I think you'll find when you read it, it's the beginning of the path toward that last chapter at the end of Book 9. It's the beginning of threading it all together and wrapping it up.
So, spoiler alert, you killed Clarissa in Book 7, and I read in Wikipedia you killed Bobby. It's my favorite character in Book 8. Why did you do that, and wasn't there another way to solve this problem?
Are we doing spoilers?
Apparently we're doing spoilers.
Oh, okay. Because the book hasn't come out in Germany yet. No, I mean, people die. People get old. It's a dangerous world. Bobby has been living a very dangerous life for a very long time. And the thing that we gave Bobby was that we made it her choice. She chose the moment. She decided that she was about to do something that was worth more to her than her life, and she made the choice, which is about the best death a soldier can ask for.
So this is another question underneath the one that you asked, which is why end? And that's not just a question about a book series. That's a question about being alive in the world. And we've come into this with the understanding that good stories end, good lives end. Everything either winds up with an emotionally satisfying end or an emotionally unsatisfying end. Those are your only options. We have opted for the emotionally satisfying end.
Is it also maybe because out of realism that you're not just sci-fi writers and the heroes will be alive till the end of the series?
I don't know that it's realism so much as an aesthetic choice. How do you write a book that addresses our mortality? You can do that as pure escapism, in which the hero never dies, everybody always ends well, everything is always good, or you can write a book or a project whose aim is not comfort but consolation, where it's like, yeah, no, everything ends. We end. Good characters end. Good stories end. The things you love eventually go away, and that's all right. That's okay. That's way more what I'm interested in doing.
Are you mirroring in your books the current political climate or scientific developments? Because I think the occupation of Medina, it's like, for me as a European, just like the Americans maybe in Iraq or Afghanistan not understanding the people, and one is warning from Laconia, you can't treat people like that, you have to think of their culture.
Yeah, no, I pull from history a lot more than I pull from the current day. But the reality is that humans do the same dumb stuff over and over and over again. So if I pull from, Persia's occupation of all the surrounding countries a couple thousand years ago, it seems like today because we do the same things. Laconia's attitude toward conquest is much more the Persian attitude, where you conquer a place, they owe you taxes, but they get to keep their local laws, they get to keep their local religions, they even to some degree get to keep their local government. You're the king of kings, but it's still okay for there to be local kings. That was Darius, that was Xerxes. That's where we pulled for Laconia. The only reason it feels current is because we're still doing stuff like that. We've never stopped.
How about scientific developments? Because I was wondering, the ship's drive can't go faster than light. Why not?
Because you can't go faster than light. that's the. I mean, it less glibly. There was an aesthetic we were aiming for this particular project that was bridging kind of late Apollo 13 to early Buck Rogers, kind of that space in there, and having there be recognizable technology and recognizable physics and a world that you could imagine. At the beginning especially, let us put in alien, strange, intrusive things later on and have them feel strange and intrusive. It wouldn't have worked if we had started off with, there's strange, faster than light stuff and all of these amazing things, and here's another amazing thing that looks a lot like everything else we've had up till now. It wouldn't have had the impact. So aesthetically speaking, we couldn't.
How did you two came together to write the series?
I was playing in a tabletop role-playing game that Ty was running, and he had done all of the world building and all of the hard part, and I had written a few books, and so I thought it would be fun, and we could, write a book and sell it for pizza money, and that would be cool. And so I went to him and I said, hey, you want to write a book? And he said, okay. And then we spent Wednesdays writing Leviathan Wakes. And over the course of a year, came out with a book.
That's it.
How do you how is your working day? You are two writers writing the same story, and you have different viewpoints. How do you start your writing day? What are you doing?
Well, it's changed a lot. I mean, it's very different now than it was when we started. When we wrote the first book, we got together one day a week. I would write one chapter, he would write one chapter. We would swap them at the end of the day. We would spend the next week revising and editing them. And then the next day the next week when we got together, we would trade them, look at them, put them on the master document and write 2 more chapters. That evolved a lot as time went on, as jobs changed. Daniel's situation changed. I had sort of a day job I stopped working at. Then it changed again when the TV show started, and suddenly we were in LA 4 months out of the year, and I was in Toronto 4 months out of the year. So it's every step along the way. I think all 8 books so far have had a slightly different process of how they got written, but it's fundamentally the same. Somebody writes a first draft, they give it to the other person edits that first draft, goes onto the back of the master document.
And then at the end, when we have the complete manuscript done, each of us will go through start to finish and make any changes we want, so that by the end of it, it has its own voice.
Will you stay with the same character till the end of the book, or maybe for 9 books you're always writing the same character?
Oh no, we have moved around a lot. We were pretty strict at the beginning about who wrote which character, but by around book 5, we had gotten to know the voices of the characters really well and each other's process really well. Ty had learned a lot about how you write the kind of prose we were writing. I had learned a lot about how to think through the story that he had built, and we really had educated each other up to do everything you needed to do, so it became less important.
Who has the final decision when you are not agreeing on something?
The story does. The story gets the final decision. The rule is always that the best idea wins. It's always very clear what the best idea is, because we agree on the kind of story that we're telling. And so whenever there's not really usually disagreements, but whenever we have different ideas about a way a problem can be attacked, we both will talk out what our idea is, and it's always very clear which of the 2 ideas is better. And I don't think we've ever argued beyond that.
Yeah, everybody seems to think that you can't do this without it being confrontational and contentious, and that just hasn't been my experience.
I don't know, maybe it's about who is the more dominant of you, who is talking to TV executives or Amazon. You can't talk, both people can't talk to one person. Maybe if you don't agree on something, you say to him, you are talking to Amazon and I'm fine with every decisions you're making. Well,
that's really more about who is available to take the call that day. It's not if there's something that needs to be done, we work together.
And the premise is inaccurate, because we often do both get on the same call with an executive or whatever. It's much more split up by, as Daniel was saying, availability. There are many times when I'm in, say, Toronto working on producing the show, and our publisher will say, "Oh, we'd love to have a marketing call to talk about the books." I'm not going to be available. They'll say, "Here's what the marketing call is going to be about," and I'll just say to Daniel, "You take the call, and I'll tell the publisher whatever Daniel says he's speaking for both of us." And when I'm on set or in production and he's not there, it's the same. He'll say, whatever Ty says, that's for both of us. So it's less about anyone being dominant, and it's more about who was there at the time. And we both agree on what the project is, so we both trust that the other person is going to make the right decision.
And when you start a collaboration, you go in with the understanding that whatever comes out isn't going to be exactly what you would have done by yourself. So it's not like I'm going to second guess Ty's choice. It's not like Ty's going to second guess mine. We're going to talk with each other and kind of make sure we're still on the same page, and then we're going to do the right thing. And it works surprisingly well when you trust each other.
If you look back now to the beginnings, are you writing faster now?
Well, we're writing more now. I would guess we must be going faster. I don't know. We were pretty productive from the start, and we're still pretty productive. So, I don't know the answer to that question.
Do you know how many pages you will write, or do you set a limit? We have to stop at 900 pages.
Oh no, I have an unhealthy thing about word count. Chapters are 3,000 words long. There's probably 55-ish chapters in a book. So the length of the book is one of the things that you use as a creative obstacle to give yourself a net to play tennis with. That's kind of the fun of it. So we build the story within the size that we've chosen to begin with.
What do you need to go in the mood, or what are you doing if you get writer's block?
Yeah, there's no such thing as writer's block. Writer's block is I didn't want to sit down and type that day, which, that's fine. But the truth is the way you get out of writer's block is you write. You sit down and you start typing, and you keep going until it starts to work. And maybe you write a bunch of crap that doesn't work. That's okay. It's okay to throw things away and rewrite them. But I've always been very suspicious of people claiming they have writer's block. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, and I agree with Ty. For me, writer's block is a description of editing before you should start editing. It's when you start trying to do something. If you try to do something good, yeah, there are days you can't do anything good. But
yeah.
If you just agree that it's going to be terrible, it's easy to write something.
Yeah, and I think because we plan ahead of time, we outline, we know what we're supposed to be doing. I think if you wait for the muse to strike you, and then you just sit down and type whatever pops in your head, that's probably harder to just force yourself to do it. But we don't work that way.
Yeah, I was trying to remember who said, I think it was Raymond Chandler, but I'm probably wrong, who said, my muse works union hours.
Yeah. I mean, if you're an auto mechanic, nobody ever says, well, I have auto mechanic block. I just can't work on engines today because I have auto mechanic block. I don't know why writers believe that their work is some kind of mythical special thing that you can be blocked from. I don't know where that comes from.
You created a new language, or maybe a new dialect of English with the Balters. How did that came about? Do you have your own lexicon now with English and Balter language?
Our lexicon for Belter and the books is exactly as many words as we've needed. And there's no rigor to it. It is not well thought out. It is to give an impression more than to actually create a language. For the TV show, it required more rigor, and we hired a linguist to do that. But I don't speak Belter.
Neither do I. No, it's yeah.
I thought now you can speak a little Balter now. Answer in that way. How important is research for you?
Well, most of the research that we did for this, we did before we knew we were researching a book. I mean, I have a biology degree that I got because the cute girl was in biology and I wanted to sit next to her. And Ty was reading about the bodies in the solar system and thinking about what was cool about them and thinking about how you would kind of use them in a science fiction setting years before we ever started doing this. What we've done is less research things so that we can bring them to the project than build a project out of all the things we were enthusiastic about to begin with. So there's very little research that we've done that has been specifically for this project. This is what we knew coming in.
What do you think as science fiction writers, what will happen when humankind gets in touch with extraterrestrial life? Maybe life forms that are equal to us or sophisticated than us.
Have you met an octopus? It's
I have seen a documentary about an octopus. I don't know if you have seen it. About one in Alaska, and he has it in an aquarium, and it looks at the TV and so, and you can push the remote control.
No, we have run into animal intelligence. We have run into other intelligent species. We're not great with them. We don't actually know much. The line from Wittgenstein, if lions could speak, we still couldn't understand them. When we reach alien intelligence, when we find an alien civilization, we will probably think, huh.
Yeah, I mean, there are things on this planet that may very well be nearly or as clever as we are, as intelligent as we are. Mostly what we do is eat them. If octopi ever develop technology equal to ours, we'll probably stop eating them, but we still won't understand them.
I was thinking more like Stephen Hawking when he said it's not so good that we put out some probes out in space. Maybe some life forms come and they treat us like the Aborigines or the Native Americans.
I think that is highly unlikely. I think the physical limitations that keep us from zipping around the galaxy faster than light are going to be true for everyone else too. The speed of light is not contextual. It is pretty much universal. So because it takes infinite energy to get a particle with mass up to the speed of light, I doubt any civilizations are going to have infinite energy.
But yeah, I mean, it would be interesting to know that life, or something approximating life, showed up someplace besides ours. I think that would certainly open new realms of scientific consideration and discovery, and make things clear that are not clear now. But if we are looking there for wisdom, maybe that's not the best place to start.
What do you see as the greatest threat to humanity?
Climate change and humanity. More broadly, the greatest threat to humanity is humanity.
And has been for a long time. In the past 5,000 years, the greatest extinction level events that we've experienced were mostly caused by us. And I think that's going to continue. I think when we suffer the outworking of climate change, when we see all the terrible things that are going to be happening, we're going to have to remember it was our fault that we did it. If fortunately we never had a nuclear war, but if that had happened, that would have been our fault.
Coming back to the end of the series, J.K. Rowling started again writing about the Harry Potter universe. How about you? When fans demand more, will there be more stories, or you pick up some character and started writing again?
Nope.
That's definitely.
Yeah, no, the story. There's going to be one more novel. There's 2 novellas. There'll be a collection of the short stories, and the thing that makes stories good, the thing that makes a good story good, is that it ends.
Yeah, Daniel said this to me once, and it's stuck with me. You know, paintings are defined by the edge of the canvas. You can't have a painting that goes infinitely in every direction. It's not a painting. It's just reality. So I think the size of the canvas is part of the artwork. and I like that things end, and I like the. So part of the reason I'm going to talk bad about another thing, I love Star Wars. I loved Star Wars as a kid. Part of the reason I'm not a Star Wars fan anymore is because it has never ended. Because it kept giving us endings, and then coming back in later and going, no, that wasn't really the ending. And because of that, I don't trust that series to give me a satisfying ending. It's just going to keep giving me false endings and then taking them away. And I don't ever want to do that. I don't ever want to say, here's the end, and then a couple years later go, except it wasn't really, and here's a bunch more stuff. Because then you don't trust the story anymore. You don't trust that the emotional reaction you had to the ending was real, and that the author took it seriously.
Now, the thing that won't end, the thing that doesn't end, is the conversation that we're a part of. Because we're clearly writing in reaction to stuff like Alfred Bester's Stars My Destination, and Ridley Scott's Alien, and Niven, and Asimov, and Heinlein, and hopefully we will finish our part. We'll do our project, and people will be excited by that, and maybe some of them will write Expanse fan fiction, or some response to the Expanse, or something inspired by the Expanse, or something that reimagines some of the things that we've done. And 10 or 15 years from now, you'll see some other project by somebody else that has some of our DNA in it. That's going to be how the story progresses, not by us re-chewing our last food.
Yeah, I have the same opinion like you about Star Wars, because I think more and more serious, The Mandalorian, and I see on Facebook friends of mine are really hungry for more. And for me, why? It should have finished, and it makes it, destroys it, at least for me.
No, it's because they're reaching for comfort. This is what we were talking about. This is the difference between writing comfort food and writing consolation food.
Even if I don't like it that you killed off Bobby, I think it's great because she has a great life in your books, and that you can't bring her back like, I don't know, Terminator, and start again, and just, it doesn't happen, and we start here again with Bobby's life, and so on.
It tells you that we as the authors don't take your emotional reaction to our work seriously. It dismisses it. You write a thing like the death of a character, and you intend for it to have an impact on the reader. That's intentional, and they have that moment, that emotion. And then if you come back later and say, "Just kidding,"
then we're laughing.
Then we're not taking the moment we wanted you to have. We're not taking it seriously. We're not treating it seriously. And I think what happens is readers stop trusting you.
As they should.
And they should, yeah. We take it seriously. We take the reader's experience of our work seriously. And we want, when they have an emotional reaction to a moment that we've written that we intended, we're not making fun of you for that. That's what we intended to have happen. And we take it seriously.
A few days ago I read that somebody said now it's the best time for fantasy and sci-fi on TV or Netflix or Amazon. Do you think the same?
I think there's a lot of really good projects out there. Yeah, I think that's true. I think it's actually kind of with the proliferation of streaming services, even outside of science fiction and fantasy, there's just some of the bravest, most interesting filmed entertainment being made right now. I don't know how you categorize something like Russian Doll, but that was an amazing piece of work. I'm not exactly sure what genre Fleabag was part of. That was an amazing piece of work. And yeah, I think that the genre work is also profiting from that broadness and that freedom.
I agree.
What is your favorite TV show?
What is our favorite TV show? Well, recently, it's Fleabag Season 2. That was amazing. That was structurally the smartest thing I have seen on a screen in the last decade. I am in awe.
I'm pretty dark. My favorite thing on TV right now, and I can watch it over and over again, is Rick and Morty. The cartoon.
Which, yeah, that's also not something that you would have seen when we were growing up.
No.
That's not something that there was a market for.
No.
Okay, thanks.
Are they kicking you out?
Yeah.
Okay.